Okay, welcome back again. All right, lesson number, I don't know what it is, but anyway, we're going to continue our video class. Hopefully we'll keep you guys gaining a little more knowledge every single day about engines. Today we're going to talk about the 4 strokes of a motor, and then I have a great video online that I need to have you guys watch that helps explain it a little bit better. The animation is phenomenal, and they talk in detail about the crankshaft, the camshaft, and the opening and the closing of the valves, and so on and so forth, along with the mechanical timing here. Okay, so an engine has 4 strokes. That's why these gasoline motors are called 4-stroke motors. And what are those 4 strokes? Well, the first stroke is the intake stroke. First, let's talk a little bit. What is the stroke of the motor? Okay, the stroke, or 1 stroke, is considered when the piston travels either from TDC, which is top dead center, to BDC, bottom dead center. That would be considered 1 stroke. Or from bottom dead center, BDC, to top dead center, TDC, that would also be considered a stroke. So a stroke is defined as, let me write it big enough so that you guys can see it. Stroke defined as TDC to BDC, or BDC to TDC. Bottom dead center and top dead center. So that defines our strokes. So there are 4 strokes that happen in a regular ignition cycle. Okay? And the first stroke is the intake stroke. And what needs to happen on the intake stroke, or what is happening? First, what is the piston doing? Piston travels from, what's the answer to that? Yep, it's going to travel from TDC to BDC. It's going to travel from top dead center to bottom dead center. Okay, so in other words, the piston is moving down. The second thing that needs to happen here is intake valve is open. Okay, so this starts the process. Why does the intake valve need to be open? What's happening? Well, on the downstroke of the piston, the intake valve needs to be open so that it will draw in or suck in the fuel that will be needed for the combustion process. So the intake stroke needs to be, the piston is moving down and the intake valve needs to be open. So these are the 2 critical components that we talked about yesterday as far as mechanical timing goes. Stroke number 2. Oh, let me back up just a little bit. One of the descriptions when we, as far as people explaining the strokes of an engine, or the 4 different strokes, is sometimes or often they will reference the intake stroke as suck. Suck. Okay? All right? So that'll help you remember that the first stroke is the suction stroke. It's sucking in the fuel, and therefore the piston needs to be moving down and the intake valve needs to be open. The second stroke, stroke number 2, is the compression stroke. Compression. So for us to compress, what do you think the piston needs to be doing? It's not too tough to figure out if you are using any kind of deductive reasoning, and that is, now the piston is going to be doing what? Piston is moving where? From BDC to TDC. It's moving from bottom dead center up to top dead center. So now the piston is moving upward. Okay, what do my valves need to be doing? Now obviously we're trying to compress the fuel and the air that has been sucked into the cylinder. So your deductive reasoning should be telling you that the valves need to be closed. So valves, both of them, valves closed. That way we create a tight seal in the cylinder to compress or just, to compress the fuel mixture. And this, the slang term for this stroke is squeeze. Is that how you spell squeeze? I think it is. Okay, so we're going to squeeze. Right? So that's the compression stroke. Stroke number 3. This stroke is the power stroke. P-O-W-E-R, power stroke. Now this is the reaction to what's about to happen in this cylinder. Now at this time, what is my piston doing? Piston moves from top dead center to bottom dead center. What you want to try to remember here is, why is it moving down? Well, what has happened as it's compressed or squeezed our fuel mixture, that the spark plug has sparked, ignited that and created an explosion, and that explosion forces the piston back down. And so that's called the power stroke, because that's what keeps the power movement from happening. The power or the movement of the crankshaft to continue. Okay, what do my valves need to be doing on the power stroke? We talked about before that if we're going to create an explosion that has any kind of force to it, we need to have that explosion squeezed together. So obviously our valves again need to be closed. Okay, so that when that bomb or that explosion goes off, all of the force is being pushed down against the piston rather than escaping out through an open valve. Okay, the slang term that we use for this, or is commonly used for this, is bang. Okay, bang, like blows up, bang, pow. And so it's easy, helps you to easily remember another one of the strokes. And then the final stroke, because this is a 4-stroke motor, stroke number 4. Number 4 is the exhaust stroke. Now, what do you think that the piston movement is for the exhaust stroke? Again, it's pretty obvious that it's either moving up or it's moving down. So on this last stroke, the piston moves from BDC to TDC. Okay? And then what are our valves doing? Now this is obviously the exhaust stroke, and so we need to push the exhaust or the burned up fuel out of the cylinder, and so therefore the exhaust valve would be open. Okay, and that finishes up the 4 strokes. You can imagine what the last slang term is for the exhaust stroke. Yeah, believe it or not, it's blow. Blow. So the slang terms to help you remember the 4 different strokes are S, S, B, B. So be suck, intake, sucks it in. Squeeze, it's going to squeeze the fuel that has been drawn in, so it's squeezing it, the compression stroke. You're going to have the power stroke or the explosion. That's bang. And then we have the exhaust stroke, which is blow. We're going to blow it out the exhaust. So we're going to suck it in, we're going to squeeze it, it's going to bang, and then we're going to blow it out and start that process all over. So we have an intake stroke, compression, power, and exhaust. And those are the 4 strokes of the motor. Okay, just try to remember that right before the power stroke happens, we have a compressed fuel mixture that needs to be ignited, and that's where the spark plug ignites that fuel, or that's the time that the spark plug needs to spark to ignite that fuel mixture to create the bang. And so that's critically important. We'll talk about that on another video. So make sure that you take the notes, answer the questions on the worksheet, watch the video that's tagged with this one to help you better understand this. It's just a short video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, and don't forget, wash your hands.